A very good morning to you all, wherever you are receiving this broadcast across the world. My name is Rachel Takali, and I'm the host this morning. From a very bright and shiny Kampala, we are expecting even more sun in the course of the day. But for the program this morning, I'm joined by a panel of 3 others, and we'll be looking very, very seriously into the issue of medicine, especially from the African perspective. Of interest in these days has been the strike in Kenya, for example, where medical practitioners have been on strike for a season, and this has brought us to a place where we examine what can be done in the present context, Africanly speaking, in terms of delivery, healthcare-wise. So this morning, I'm joined by professionals, people who have done their part to contribute to the footprint left by our ancestors. But this time we have people who have also a significant body of knowledge when it comes to Western healthcare. So on my immediate left, I am joined by Dr. Ibrahim Mayanja, who is a naturopathic physician or therapist. Also down the line, I have Dr. Ibrahim Mayanja, who is a researcher and I'm sorry?
The name we have repeated the name.
Oh, he's Dr. Musisi Majid, who is a researcher and also a naturopathic practitioner, and also the Secretary of National Council of Traditional Healers Association in this country. And of course, one of our own who has been very ardent when it comes to Pan-African issues, Akol Mazima. Welcome to you all.
Thank you.
But in our tried and tested way, I would like to first start with Akol Mazima. In terms of what you have noted of interest, aside from what we are going to delve into in the course of today, whether nationally or internationally, what has caught your imagination? 1 or 2 things.
Well, I think at the international level, just in the neighborhood, we see the CDF Kenya, Defense Forces surely, crushed in a chopper, and President William Samoei Ruto has actually declared 3 days of national mourning. So General Gola was among Kenya's well-trained staff for generals, and I think it's actually a very, very sad moment, not only to Kenya but actually to the entire region. Yeah. Then secondly, the other issue is the issue of the doctors striking in Kenya. You know, this also reminds me of a time when in Canada, when doctors actually were striking, or we are threatening strike because government had actually talked of increasing their salary. And here in Africa, it is only the reverse, that doctors here will always strike because they want their salaries increased. You get it? So now these are the 2 scenarios that I would wish our African governments actually should really look at. Also, there was a time, there was some fun going around that was it in Australia, that when children actually, pupils, come late to school, as a form of punishment, they are given food. And now somebody was saying that if that kind of punishment is brought to Africa, even teachers will be coming late. so there are so many things as Africans we need to really correct. Yeah, we need to correct so that we can actually catch up with the world. Yeah.
Thank you. Dr. Musisi Majid?
Yes,
A few things that have caught your imagination, whether here or internationally.
Yeah, my imagination goes to what we call the nature and indigenous capacity of Africans to keep what they own. For example, we have dependently relied on things that are not belonging to us. Yet there are things that belong to us, very beneficial, very good to us, and we have foregone them. The choice is put in front of us, but we choose what belongs to someone instead of choosing what is on our own.
So are you saying if you were in administration in Kenya, for example, political administration, you would be championing alternative approaches to healthcare?
Exactly. Why should we call alternative medicine, yet it is the African medicine? The other medicine should be alternative. Ours should be the one that we rely on. The other one comes as alternative.
Okay.
Yeah, so they change our mind into what belongs to you is an alternative, and what belongs to us is the main thing. So
interesting.
That catches my thought.
Dr. Mayanja.
Yes, please.
A few things that have caught your imagination.
The few things which have caught my imagination within this period is the issue to do with our country, Uganda, the striking, concerning the taxes, which are the ongoing strike, because now people are stuck, they are confused, they are not working. So really, it is a mess, in other words. That's what that is the issue.
Wow. Those are a few observations that the panel here has had, not just here, but in places further away from here. But delving further into the topic, and even before I go there are few people who are wondering where is Ndugu Mututa and where is Ndugu Rugarama, who are usually here with us. Dr. Ndugu Rugarama is many, many miles from here. He's attending one of the Pan-African conferences, I believe in South America. Then Ndugu Mututa, I believe, is caught up in the preparations for the send-off of the late Umukuka of Bugisu. So they could not be here with us, but still we carry on with the cause at hand. Akola Mazima, one of the things that has suffered all kinds of assault since the onset of the colonial experience has been the issue of Africa, its medicines, and the general approach to matters health. So much so that at the onset of the colonial era, and I'll be referring quite a bit to Kenya for obvious reasons, the colonizers worked very, very hard to almost criminalize African medicine. In some cases they did. They passed an act, I know, in Kenya in 1925, where they equated African medicine with witchcraft, which was an offense. They went on to elevate medical practitioners from the Western school of thought, head and shoulders over those who had been curing our people for all these years without intervention from other parts. They even set the infrastructure in such a way that African medical approaches would forever be disenfranchised and be on the sidelines. But now we have a situation where healthcare systems are struggling, Western style. And we are not saying that they should be thrown out altogether. We can work side by side. What, in your view, is the principal reason for where we are today? Struggling health systems, disenfranchised African approaches.
No, in my view, we are where we are because of self-rejection. Yeah, we've not accepted ourselves as Africans, that because the colonizers told us that this is witchcraft, and we actually also accepted that is witchcraft. But these are more than 50 years since the colonialists left. We should have done something about it so that we can have our own medicine, develop it. African governments actually should even sponsor research into into our traditional herbal medicine and see how it's working. For example, even when it comes to issues of our environment, now we are being affected by climate change. But the cutting down of forests and also destroying our swamps and whatever is not only affecting us in terms of climate, but is also affecting us in terms of the source of herbal medicine. Because most of these actually forests were not only a source of timber and firewood, but also sources of what? Of medicine. So all these traditionalists know that these forests were places where they would go to get this natural medicine. So some trees have actually been cut, and you may never find them. So I believe in the bid to conserve our environment, to protect our natural trees, we actually need to come up with an arrangement whereby research is made and they identify those indigenous species where they used to be used as medicine, sources of medicine, so that they can be replanted. People who have invested time in coming up with nursery beds. For example, I know of one person in Amoro, that is Osire Pasco, Dr. Osire Pasco, who has actually come up with a nursery bed in Omoro, actually, in Omoro district. He has come up with a nursery bed and he's looking for those traditional indigenous trees that were used for herbal medicine. I think that is now the way to go, that government should actually support such a people, because this is medicine we need. We were also told that in the 60s, in places like in Tungamo, there were people who would carry out skull surgery. The 60s in Tungamo. And they will tell you that it can only be done by the modern machines. So now, when those people pass away, do they leave their knowledge behind? These are things now that we should interrogate. Then lastly, I also think that we should come up with a system that does not demonize our African approach to solving our problems. When you go in some hospitals in Nigeria, or even here in Bundubujo, you find that when somebody breaks their arm, breaks their leg during an accident, they have those specialists who will actually fix it, even when you're not there. You're miles away and somebody is maybe, they know how they do it, and they will fix your leg. So you find that in hospitals in Nigeria, they have that kind of arrangement, that when they have a specialist in herbal medicine who has been tested and is giving the right treatment, and there is evidence that actually they are treating, they are healed, then they are always given space within the main hospital to also help here.
It is interesting also to note that there have been important gaps in the approach that was African medicine. Detractors say, for example, that much of this knowledge is yet to be documented. If someone dies and they were a prominent practitioner of African medicine, it is difficult to know in what proportions, for example, or what dosages are relevant in each case, because many of these things are known and they work, but they're not committed to pen and paper. There are others who say that research, for example, to know the efficacy of these medicines, or to know if there are related side effects, and so on and so forth, these mechanisms have been wanting. But also, for the viewer, I'd like to underline that we are not talking about the spiritual aspects. There are people who are already reaching for their TVs and thinking we are talking about voodoo and black magic. That is not what we are talking about. We are talking about wholesome medicines provided by nature. In this case, we're talking about extracting medicines from things such as moluluza or some of these things that we consume, delicacies and so on, but also have healing properties. That is what we are talking about. So please don't mix the two. Dr. Musisi.
Yes, please.
While African medical approaches have their own issues, so does Western healthcare. We look at cases such as the strikes not very long ago in this very country. While we are focusing on Kenya this time, we have had the same issues. Among them, remuneration. Among them, the very expensive infrastructure that goes with Western healthcare. The expense itself. in the African mechanisms, where African societies, where insurance is hard to come by, what, in your view, are ways that can cure some of these gaps, knowing that you have a foot in both worlds? What, in your view, is a way around some of these things that ail the Western approaches to medicine and the African approaches to medicine?
Thank you so much, and I'm so glad that I'm here today to educate and sensitize the nation. Good morning, Uganda and Africa, once again. My name is Dr. Musisi Majid, the Secretary, NACOTHA Uganda. NACOTHA stands for National Council for Traditional Healers and Herbalist Associations. It's an umbrella that is responsible and mandated to register, supervise, censor, sensitize the nation about the natural medicine. What we call medicine is so different from what we call drugs. So when I'm defining this, I feel even the pain to see that the riches of the nation are abandoned. Uganda can survive on herbal medicine, financially, economically, and societally. First of all, we are depending on people in health ways. How can you depend on people health ways? We are getting lost. The nation is so ignorant about the value of what God gave us. The real value of medicine, African medicine. We were born knowing that blackjack, what they call in local language, sele, is healing wounds. The moment you cut yourself, you put sele and you're okay. But you have to go to the clinic. They dress you up, they overcharge you, and then you go back poor. Dependency leads to unnecessary expenses. What you have to use for only 1,000, you'll use it for 10,000, because you're not aware of what exactly you need. There is a difference between what you need and what you want. African medicine is needed. Drugs are wanted. We need African medicine because it acts as food, it acts as a water supplement, and for immune boosting. Those are three importances.
Yes.
And contrarily, the other one, the moment you use it, yes, it heals, but it has a side effect. African medicine has no side effect. You have been talking about...
Is that researched robustly?
Yes, it has no side effect because it is food. Besides being medicine, it is food. So can food have side effect? Because when you're eating, you feel that I'm now filled. You cannot add to make a food poisoning. The only side effect is when you exceed the limit, you get a food poisoning.
Okay.
So Africa has to be educated, has to be told that what you have, this is its value. We know that this is Senna de Momotra, this plant that is used to cleanse the stomach. We know that African chigeli is used for manpower, and it works on that. So these people take chigeria for Viagra, bring it back chemically formed, just because they studied pharmacovigilance, pharmacokinetic and dynamics. They come and confuse us with English, and yet the source is Africa. Every plant in Uganda is medicine. Every plant.
Wow.
So why are we poor? Why are we seeking a health care from the Western? Yet we have the source here. They come all the way to Africa. They pick, they go look for phytochemicals from our own plants and manufacture drugs. They come back and sell to us. We are a market to the Western. So
wow.
They have formed us to be a market for their goods. And they don't want us to learn, to wake up. We are still sleeping. When we are still young, they could tell you that when you play with your shadow, you're going to die at night. So that you can sleep early, you don't play with your shadow.
Okay.
Yeah, so those are the tricks the Western used to lie to us, that African medicine is witchcraft. So don't practice it, because they have to keep us their market.
Yes.
They know when you don't buy a Western drug, you will use African way and you will develop it. So what we have embarked on as NACOTHA is we have set up the institutes, the sites of educating people. People lack knowledge.
Yes.
So we are giving people knowledge. Secondly, we are reorganizing all the talents. All the talents in African healing.
Okay.
Reorganizing them, keeping records of them by district, bringing them under the same umbrella so that we become an independent industry.
Wow.
Yeah.
Dr. Mayanja,
Yes, please.
robust research exists
Yes.
that indicates that there are a number of areas that continue to be significant challenges when it comes to offering quality Western-style healthcare on this continent. Among the issues that are most prominent, political will
Yes.
is also said to be an issue when it comes to, for example, creating insurance mechanisms. They say infrastructure is dilapidated. It cannot cope with the modern demands in terms of Western-style healthcare. They also say the technical aspects. They say the human resource is not up to par.
Yes.
Now, when it comes to African medicine, and you as someone who's into naturopathic medicine,
Yes.
you know what both worlds are about.
Yes, I know.
How do we reconcile these concerns
All right. Thank
with
you.
reality?
Yes, thank you for giving me a chance to say something about that issue. Generally, according to me, there is something which has been going on along, but it is due to ignorance of the public and the fellow medics. I've heard the statement from my fellow colleague
Yes.
talking that there is no side effects for the herbal remedies.
Mm.
But when you go the other side, they will confirm you that it's there, even the users.
Okay.
Yes, but now we have to be straight, loud, and clear.
Yes.
Each medicine can create side effects,
Mm.
basically.
On use.
Yes. Now, the problem which we're experiencing, somebody being a herbalist
Yes.
does not mean that he's a profession in that sector. There is some logic that you have to put in when you're doing some work. Professionalism and experience. Are we together?
Yes.
Now you find that the problem which is disorganizing people, or the two parties, because we need to liaise and see how we can move on together, the other clinical side and the herbal side. But now you find that there is a problem which we are experiencing in which way each party thinks what it does is the right thing. The clinical medicine, they think they are right, and these ones on the herbal pharmacology, they think they are right. But what is disturbing them is one thing. Me as somebody who is in the middle, because I know both sides. Now you find that when, for example, I can give you, when you are creating a synergism of any kind of medicine, there are certain percentages that we look at. Let me say, you are going to create a therapy for treating, let me say, for cleansing yourself. You talk of, let me say, you talk of ginger, you talk of garlic, you talk of a lot of stuff. But you find that each of those spices or those herbs, it has a certain percentage that you have to look at, not just to mix the way you think. Okay. Because if you pass the grammage, which is required, for example, for garlic, you find that it will disorganize the pH of the human body.
Okay.
When we are talking about the body pH, the potential of hydrogen ions of the body, look at the pH of the skin, the pH of the blood, the pH of the intestines. But you find that when you are organizing the medicine, we look into consideration, because you'll be asked what is the synergism of. That's where many people find problem. You create medicine, but once you are told to give the active ingredient in the medicine, you cannot provide it because you are not a professional in that sector. Second, you are told to give the percentage of the concentration of the medicine for each particular quantity that you put in. You cannot produce it. That's why we find a problem. Another mistake which people are experiencing, in other words, which has failed, which has led these two parties not to combine and work together, because there is where they say that we should, there is somewhere in a certain where where the Ministry of Health, they want us to work together, but we cannot, because each party, there is a way it sees its own things. Anybody, there is no national medical practitioner who can give a chance, a herbalist, to work on his patient without first producing his MOT. That is the mode of treatment. That is their area of concern. You have to show what really you are going to do. What they need a complete report concerning what you are going to do before even giving a patient. One, they will need to know what are the etiological factors of the disease that you are going to hold. The pathophysiology. There are a lot of stuff which is involved there. If I'm to expound it, we can take even a full day talking about the same thing. So we are very few people, we specialists, who can handle that thing. Because me, even though I'm told to create a medical report which is going to World Health Organization, I will do it and it will be approved because I'm sure I know what I'm doing. I'm a professional in that sector. But not anybody can handle that.
Okay.
Yes. That's where a problem comes in. So we need to...
So those are the technical aspects.
Those are the technical aspects, to mention a few things here. But what what can bring us together, we need to look for the seniors in this sector.
Yes.
Like me, myself, I cannot exclude myself. Yes, because now we see a solution, how we can help others to come up with better solutions. You can have a therapy which can cure cancer, to be sincere with you. But where the problem comes from, when it can cure, like for example, there's somebody, certain colleague, I know him, I'm not going to talk about, but they said that he has the therapy for treating cancer.
Yes.
But if you go to that fellow and you ask him to create a synergism for that medicine, he cannot do it. So how would you expect those people? They're working on policies and principles. Because everything that we do, it is done on research. It is research-based with the medics. But you cannot produce a synergism of the medicine that you are claiming that it can cure people. How would you say that? They will consider you and they will give you a chance to treat their people. Without proof of what you are doing, you cannot explain what you are doing, how you did it. You know, understand? Yes, I That's where the complication, the confusion comes from. But if we can solve that issue, then it would work out better for us.
Wow.
Yes, thank you.
It is very interesting to hear a person who has a foot in both worlds, because on average, you find medical practitioners who are either fully of the African variety or totally of the Western mindset. So to have that hybrid, that bridge, I'm hoping that that is really where Dr. Musisi is placing emphasis going forward. Because I think in the modern world, we really cannot go forward one without the other. It has been established that African traditional medicine, despite the challenges that it has faced over the years, it has the capacity to keep going. It is resilient because it would have died down by now. But Western medicine is also not going anywhere. So I think it's a case of combining the best of both worlds. But coming back to you, Mr. Akol, are you comfortable with the fact that many of the things that are raised when it comes to challenges that are facing African traditional medicine, there is no meaningful intervention to make sure that it's viable, that it is sustainable? I'll give you an example. This issue of documentation, for example, would you be comfortable? Because Dr. Mayanja has talked about going to someone who is reciting all these things, a third generational practitioner, but none of this is documented. You, as someone who is into Pan-African causes, are you comfortable with that sort of thing? Where these things are never documented, there's never research. Are you really into supporting such a position?
Well, that's why I said that from the start that African governments should really fund research into the field of African herbal medicine. Because research is very expensive, and I believe most of the traditional healers and herbalists cannot afford actually to finance it. So that's an area that government, because in other countries that have developed, they invest a lot of money in research, and that's why they come up with new innovations. He did talk about, Dr. Musisi did talk about the issue of our own herbs. On the other hand, it is food. For example, my interaction with the West Africans introduced me to one kind of sauce called bitter leaf soup.
Yes,
Which
I've eaten bitter leaf.
the one we call mululuza. They make very good soup out of it. So as you're enjoying your bitter leaf soup, on the other hand, you're treating yourself. You get it? So it is something really, the other issue is that we as Africans have our own tropical diseases that when like you're in Europe, no pharmacy will ever give you the medicine for that. Especially when you have tropical, you may have for example, malaria. You may move around the pharmacies and will not find medicine for it.
Yeah, you can die in Western Europe.
Yes, but these are Africa. They will say these are tropical diseases. So, and these tropical diseases, and most of the Africans I've seen in Europe, how they cure it is by getting their good dose of bitter leaf, and at the end of the day they are cured. So these are some of the things. Actually, I was introduced to two things: bitter coal and bitter leaf. You get it? And these are West African medicine, and they are really it's both food and it is both medicine. So these are things that we have to look at. Now the other issue is that I think also there is need for those who are actually pushing the African agenda in terms of the African herbal medicine and also the traditional healing. It's also important that we are in a new dispensation of .com, that they should learn to keep records. They should learn to keep records. They should also make reforms. The reforms so that they can fit in the modern dispensation. Because if there are no reforms made, then everybody will kind of look at our medicine as maybe some kind of witchcraft, some kind of archaic, some kind of outdated. Yet actually it is the right path we should take. Because there is no society that develops by embracing medicines that do not address their what? Their diseases. Yes.
And also, in all fairness, our governments are making progress, be it slow. From the colonial era, when African medicine was all but criminal. Significant progress has been made in terms of introducing even university level programs. I know that in this country, Gulu University has worked so hard to actually elevate this, Mbarara University also,
Makerere
to elevate, even Makerere,
Yes.
to elevate this whole issue of our indigenous knowledge and pool and skills base and so on and so forth.
Even advanced university.
So, Dr. Musisi,
Yes, please.
kindly throw more light on some of these educational approaches, local, in fact, that that look at enhancing what we already have.
Thank you very much once again. I would like to remind you before I answer the question that 60% of Africans use local medicine. So the Western medicine has only 40% market.
Yes.
The reason why African medicine, it is accessible and it is cheap. So that's why people, the 60% run for it first, and actually it is used as first aid by 80%.
Yes.
First aid. So what we laid down as a strategy is we have MOUs and partnerships with these universities. We have a partnership with Avance University. We have a partnership with Chambogo Polytechnic College. We have a MOU with MUST, Mbarara University of Science and Technology. And we were near signing a memorandum of understanding with STIOP, Science, Technology, Innovation Ministry, Office of the President, but we delayed due to some reasons. I think the government, our good government, I humbly request, should put a ministry independently for naturopathy and indigenous skills to cater for it. Why? In America, they have a valley where they accommodate every talented person. Every talented person goes to that valley. I've forgotten its
Silicon.
name. What?
Silicon.
Silicon
Silicon
Valley.
Valley.
Yeah, so
In California.
every inventor. There is a man called Thomas Edison. was very dull at school. The teacher wrote a note, put it in his pocket, and told him, give it to your mother, and she will read it and give you the answer. So when this man took the note to the mother read it contrarily, said, this boy, the note was saying, this boy is very dull, cannot fit in this school because he cannot match with the clever students. You look for him another school. But the mother read it inversely, said, your boy is a genius, he's so clever, should change the school, this school is too small for him. So he kept that note, and this Thomas Edison is an inventor, a great man in the United States of America, invented all the electronic device generations. But when the mother died, when Thomas was moving around the house, he read the note, and he got to know the real words that were on the note. Yet he was dull, but the mother embraced him,
in another light.
and told him the words that he needed for him to become what he was supposed to be. So African medicine needs that touch. The government should harbor it.
Political will.
Yes.
We need to understand and accept and embrace.
When someone says, I have a cure for cancer, harbor him. Put a committee.
Nurture.
Yes, nurture him.
Invest.
Exactly. And see that value that he has in him is out, yes, for the rest of the society. The ATS has to be kept safe. African tradition society.
Yes.
Because in African tradition society, we used African medicine, we used African culture, African dance, African food. That's what we have to keep for the young generation, the coming generations, to find it there.
Wow.
Yeah.
When we return, because we'll take a short break in a few, but when we return, we'll be trying to understand the Western world that we look at as people who have separated themselves totally from their roots in terms of medical practice. Is that actually the case? Because Dr. Mayanja was among them, and he will be bringing us up to speed concerning how the Western world is reconciling modernity with the wealth of traditional knowledge. But also, I'd be very interested to find out how Dr. Masisi, who's very cutting edge, definitely, hip, modern, .com. And those ones who have been overtaken by modernity, how does he bring youth into the picture going forward? All those questions will be looked into after this break.
Gange ndetubona Kiranda Amina mu company eya WIB Uganda Limited ndi member. Wemba member company eno weyeida twalinga tutuli bulungi nga abakyala abe wakawaka. Abakyala abe wakawaka tuwemera kuba ami baife nga bonkana abajamu nandanga twidi nti abakyala tebakozesa ki nanda. UN Women weyeida yatuteekateeka yatwegesa okulunda engege nga abakyala. Twatandika beno okudulunda n'okudirisa n'okolaki twafuna mu ng'abakyala ababujiri district. Abakyala ababujiri district sofa tuli abakyala 14 abakola project eya WIB. Abakyala 14 twayawula mu sectors. Mulimu abakyala ba production, abaliisa, mwaba abakyala ba validation, abongera engege omutindo bayongerako omutindo. Twaba n'abakyala ba harvesting, aba harvestinga. Twaba n'abakyala abakola aba marketing. sekita edo donna diri trained era didi kyedikola ki kyedikola. Project eno tufunyeemu ng'abakyala gavumenti yaife ne ya Uganda njebaza okujja kujja nga batulingirira mu ng'abakyala abannayuganda eri kujja nga etulobingira ebibiina bingi. We have UWEP, baleeta parish development model, we have Myoga, byonna biri kwida mu ki mu bakyala oba mu bantu abaki aba Uganda.
Nkwanga Ramazan is my name, the head teacher of this great school, Ikumbia Seed Secondary School. The school has the staff room well furnished, administration well furnished, the computer lab well furnished, the library wonderful, the multipurpose hall well furnished. The teachers are also enjoying in the staff quarters. The school has teachers totaling to 28. Ikumbia Seed has embraced the new curriculum. I want to thank the government for that bright idea. There are many students that end up in senior 4 with no document. But with the coming of the IT, the skilled children are going to have certificates in skills as early as senior 3. And that certificate is equivalent to a senior 4 certificate. Ikumbia Seed Secondary School is a very great school that has influenced the lives of people or changed the lives of people of Ikumbia sub-county. I want to thank the parents and the government for this kind of input.
UBC is the national public broadcaster. We educate, inform, entertain, and inspire our audiences. You can watch us on free-to-air channel 001, DSTV channel 282, GoTV channel 371, Star Times channel 201, Zuku TV channel 20, and Azam TV channel 350. Even when your subscription expires, you can still watch UBC for free on your pay TV platforms.
Welcome back to Pan-African Friday from a very bright and sunny Kampala. And we greet you from our studios here at Uganda Broadcasting Corporation. But more than that, I've been joined this morning, and I'm still joined by Akola Mazima, who is one of our own and an ardent Pan-Africanist. But I'm also joined by Dr. Musisi and Dr. Mayanja, who are naturopathic practitioners, people who believe that Western approaches to medicine are not the only way forward when it comes to healing people, when it comes to curing the human system. That there are vast amounts of knowledge that are indigenous to this continent that have been handed down over the generations by our ancestors. And while these have been variously talked of in dark and ugly terms, most of us as Africans still rely very, very heavily on the fruits of this knowledge. We know, those of us who have been around for a while, that many of these common ailments have answers through herbs and medicines and even foods that we partake of on a regular basis. When it comes to wounds, there are medicines that are known to hasten the process of healing. When it comes to such things as upset stomachs, there are mechanisms, traditionally speaking, that take care of such things. Skin disorders, not in every aspect, but there are very many mitigating mechanisms of an African source. So here today, I have with me a number of people who can throw more light on the fact that where Western approaches may not be able to cover ground, and this is also very true in cases where people have next to no means to access expensive Western medical approaches, that traditional medicine has always been there to cover the ground. In fact, in this country, and this is a product of research, the doctor to patient ratio is, I think, 1 to about 20,000 in this country. And the patient to doctor ratio when it comes to traditional African medicine in Uganda is about 1 to 200. So which means that the distance or the ground covered by African traditional medicine is very much greater than that covered by these other ways of doing things. So that brings me to asking Dr. Mayanja.
Yes.
You trained for a while in the Western world, in the very field that we are talking about.
Yes.
Have they discarded their traditional medicines altogether, or is that just an African problem?
The West?
In the Western world,
Mm.
the white people.
Mm.
Have they abandoned totally and fully the knowledge base that comes from their traditional knowledge of how healing can be done? Or have they carried it into the modern way, into the modern world?
Thank you very much. Now, according to the point that you've raised, you'll find that these people, the way they approach things is different from us.
Mm.
When they come to us, they colonized our mind, and we're looking at. They are telling us something different. When you go to the ground, to their ground, they are doing something different. According to the survey, study, research, and analysis carried out, you find that when we look at the numbers, the figures of people dying in this world, when it comes to heart diseases, it holds #1 position. Cancer holds #2 position. Then those ones which come about due to drug use, it holds third position. Why am I talking about drugs? In other words, the drugs which are being used are toxic. Are we together?
Yes.
They are toxic, they are poisonous. Meaning that they include a lot of chemicals within them. They are done, behind them there are a lot of chemicals inside.
Yes.
But when it comes to natural medicine, it's natural, it's the original medicine. Even I wonder why they call it the alternative. Yet even
Because they wanted to supplant our knowledge base with theirs.
Yes, now, the only way we can come, since we managed to realize this, the only way is to, which term can I use? Is it letting or erasing or doing what, I don't know, in our heads? Because awakening people, enlightening them, in other words, to know the truth. They need to base on the natural medicine than basing on the clinical drugs, since they are toxic and poisonous.
Yes.
Yes, they are. I want to be straight, loud, and clear on that point. Now, you find that the only problem that we are experiencing, the people who are specifically in herbal medicine, the only thing which they are still experiencing, because they cannot be so 100% so to say that for them they are perfect. They also have weaknesses somehow. How? Some of them, they are practicing the medicine, only they are lacking the professionalism and experience on how to go on with it. But it is the right medicine which we are supposed to be using to treat our souls. Yes. Now, the only thing that they have to do, they need to go and acquire skills concerning the issues like what should I call, like a pharmacognosy, about the extraction,
Okay.
how it is planted, how it is harvested, how it is supposed to be extracted, some kind of that sort. Not only that, they need to get some knowledge about the naturopathic science as part of it.
Okay.
Because you are going to use the medicine, but you know nothing about the human body that you are going to deal with. You must be knowing the human anatomy.
Okay.
You must be knowing how many organs make a person. How do they coordinate to do their work? Which diseases affect those organs? And how does it enter into the body? How do you understand?
Yes.
If the virus enters there, what makes it, what strengthens it? What stimulates it? And how do you eradicate it from the body? You get the concept. So once you get that kind of knowledge and then you top it up with the pharmacogonacy part of it, you will be able to treat. But you cannot just think of something, you don't have no, it's ground, then you say you are going to treat somebody. Because already I told you, the medicine that you tend to prepare, you need to know the concentration that you are supposed to use. These people find a problem in a way that at times they ask these people, fine, I'm going to give a patient as an alternative solution, but can you please first give me your MOT, the mode of treatment that you're going to do, because that is their area of concern. You tell them the synergism of the medicine, because they are too much interested in that sector. They will ask you, you have to tell them the concentration of the medicine. They need to know the combination that you used, to what a certain percentage, and why you did it like that. Only that these people, I don't know how they phrase it. Maybe they think these people are trying to get information from them and they use it, but I don't know. But that is also involved. We need it urgently.
Let me put it another way, Dr. Mayanja.
Yes, ma'am.
What did you find that out when you were in California? What did you find out about how the Americans treat traditional knowledge of medicine that is not very obvious to the rest of us? Because the colonial mentality says everything traditional, everything indigenous is bad, evil, and must be dealt away with. What did you find that is the opposite when it comes to how the Western world handles their indigenous knowledge of medical practices?
Yes. Now, according to that point that you've raised, because according, you know, for the Americans, they've got, that's actually, it was the first school in the whole world to be introduced. That is the California School of Naturopathy.
Yes.
Okay. Well, others came in with the time, like there is one in Mississippi, there is another one in New England, and so many, even here in Uganda now we are practicing it. They are training in that is Mbarara University, there is Advanced University, there is Makerere University, and so many others. Now they are training this course unit, rather this particular course. But now you find that these people, for them, they know what we call naturopath, and most of them, they depend on natural products. They make supplements, they do. The only thing which I came up to realize, according to the quality, the things which at times they send to us, because there are supplements which come from abroad, and that they think, they bring like the anti-aging serums, they talk of the immune boosters, and so many others. But you find that most of them, they are substandard, according to research done. They are backed by old science, not modern science. Even the system of extraction, even there are some things which they add in, like steroids and so many other things involved in those things. So in that, for us, we cannot afford the authentic products that they use on their side. So I don't know, there are some fraudsters, it seems, who bring in these products and they sell to us. But to me, what I would suggest and tell fellow Africans, it's better we learn and we get to know how we can do it ourselves. Because you find that if you were to measure the concentration of the product, rather the ingredients which are inside, the active ingredients and rather the phytochemicals and the pharmacological compounds within the medicine, you find they are the same. But you find that a product from the other side, it sells big money, and then for ours, they minimize, they think about it's a fake product. And it depends, even according to the person who's going to extract the medicine, if he knows something about the medicine. But me, what I would suggest, these people, they need to go for training. Because we have the raw materials here. We have the trees, we have all the sorts of herbs around, which we can use to extract our medicine. Only that they lack the skills and the experience in doing it. But once they get to know, we shall be able to make our own medicine without even depending on the Western world.
Thank you. Dr. Musisi, before we went into the break, I was trying to find out how you're going to interest young people in actually carrying forward this knowledge base, refining it, making it really the option, the first option. Because of the colonial mind, what comes to mind whenever people have health challenges is the Western approach. Yet, in many cases, there's a traditional African approach, which is superior in every way. It has less side effects, cost is much lower, proved.
That's like food.
Yes, some of it can be actually consumed as food and so on and so forth. How is NACOTHA making sure? Because one of the ways to sustain anything is to make sure that it takes root among the young.
Thank you so much for that very question. I would first want to recap on Amayanja's words about how the Americans are conserving their remedies. They even gave Dr. Pasco, one of our members and one of the top members of NACOTHA, a gift, a book called Ancient Remedies Revived. It was written by Shannon Great and Sophie Hall, saying that it is a complete guide to herbal medicine and natural healing.
And these are Americans, right?
They are Americans writing the book and giving it as a gift to a Ugandan.
And we are busy destroying ours.
Exactly. In this book, I read it myself. It is full of all local trees and herbs. I even collected some from my home village to Dr. Pasco, who's putting a forest for herbal medicinal plants.
Wow.
In Omoro district. It is showing us that we are just getting lost, getting off track of what we are supposed to do. Then another thing is we also have a partnership with the Gulu Multifunctional Laboratory University.
Yes.
Yeah, so that we can do our products. They check them. They know the microbiomes and the phytochemicals. But the system, Uganda has the most complicated system of allowing you putting a product on the market.
Which is not...
which is not favorable.
Friendly, really.
Yes. You would put a simple system, simple steps following each other for a product to be put on the market. But you take your product to NDA, you put it in the laboratory, they check it for only 2 weeks, they are done. When you take it to NDA, it is supposed to have more than, the minimum is 18 months.
Before getting approval.
Do you understand that?
And I wonder, this is just wondering out loud, how speedily they approve Western medicines. I wonder if it's also 18 months.
I don't know.
That would show where we are, mentally speaking.
So it means we are sitting on our own things, promoting the neighbors' things. Getting back to the question of the youth, we are now working with the Directorate of Industrial Training, that is Ministry of Education Department, to see that senior 4 leavers who have failed to continue school fees come to our sector. Senior 6 that have failed come to our sector. Those ones who are interested after university, they come to our sector. That's why we are setting up all the schools. We have NACOTHA, Naturopathic and Indigenous Knowledge Academies. We are trying to set those schools in every district, every region, to see that we embark people with knowledge on African medicine.
Yes.
To keep the blackjack for wounds, for legacy. To keep the senna for cleansing the stomach. To keep the chigeria, to keep Wabugia ugandaisis, the African plant. That tree was named after Africa. It is only found in Africa. It is called Wabugia ugandaisis. It is in Uganda. It is Mukuza Nome. In English, it is African plant, African tree. It is a plant that is found with more phytochemicals for every disease.
Wow.
Because it deals with cells. When you are healing a body, you deal with cells. Because the cells are the ones to defend the antigens that are coming, creating the antibodies to defend. So the body heals itself by providing the necessary minerals
Yes.
that it is supposed to acquire to defend itself for every disease that enters, the invaders. So in Africa, we are sidelining the knowledge that our African people have to get, because life is the body. When you lose the body, you lose life. That's why the depression comes in with these chronic diseases. Someone gets cancer and he dies immediately before he even goes to the grave because of the depression. He thinks, I cannot heal. That mere word can lead someone to die. How are we working together to see, I'm sorry, my voice is not good, to see that these people who have lost hope health-wise are getting back the hope. For the youth, I call upon you. There is nothing like a sector or a business in Africa, in Uganda, that can ever earn more than herbal medicine, because the materials are for free. You go to the forest, look for your bombo, collect the bombo, you dry it, you pack it, and you heal someone who has fibroids in the womb. You heal someone who has fallopian tubes problems.
Wow.
And he pays you or she pays you. So we should look for where the money is. And when you're contributing to the nation's development. When people are healthy, the VAT comes up, the revenue. When you have healthy people, you have great revenues, because everyone is working. So per district, we teach, even if you have finished P7, even if you never went to school, we satisfy what you are talented in.
Like Thomas Edison, you don't throw anybody.
Exactly.
Because they haven't gotten AAA, PCB.
The school recommended for Thomas Edison to be chased from the school, and the mother embarked him with inspirational speech. Words. Thomas Edison is now the great inventors of electronic generations in USA. So let us, Ugandans, and the president, I thank the president of Uganda. He said during COVID that now you have known the value of being an African. Without nature, there is no culture. Without culture, there is no tradition. Without tradition, there is no indigenous knowledge. There is no science without indigenous knowledge. And there is no technology without science. So let's African embark on our values and the roots. There is a musician in South Africa sang, "Back to my roots." Let's get back to our roots, know who we are, and develop what we have as Africans. Because when we get off track, then we are going to become dependent. When we become dependent, we are parasites. The cow dies, the tick dies. The tick cannot survive when the cow is no more. Thank you very much.
Interesting. Not very long ago, I think there is an active rediscovery in Uganda and beyond, where we Africans are actually coming to a conclusion that no one will ever be the first answer to our own questions. We have to be that first answer. Not very long ago, there was a meeting of chief justices around countries that are not very far from here. And their key issue was reviving the African justice mechanisms.
The judicial system.
Very much so. They discovered, among other things, that the Western approach does not seek to reconcile parties, for example. That was really what the African traditional approach was about. We have a man not long ago, Kanyamunyu, who served his 5 years for, I think it was first-degree murder in the Western-style system. But before that, he had gone to northern Uganda to partake of the Acholi approach to justice, the Matoput, where he was cleansed, where he was forgiven. He gave the fine, and they let him go. They said, "We forgive you," and so on and so forth. And they said, okay, then he returned to the Western style, where he has just completed his 5 years sentence. But these chief justices have come to a conclusion that there are many advantages that are offered by the traditional approach to justice, litigation, and so on and so forth. It is shorter. For example, this man meeting the criteria of being cleansed for murdering one of their clanmates, I don't think it took up to a day. In this Western style, the litigation process, he's a lawyer, he should know. For murder, you can be in that cycle for 5 years before they reach the conclusion. Then you'll be sentenced. Even then, the people who, the family from whom this person comes, does not feel that justice was done. Yes, he was in prison, but they feel it could have been done a different way. Now, that same approach is coming to medical circles, where we're saying Western approaches have their advantages, but not in every sense. Can we incorporate the best that comes with African medicine and do just like the justice sector has come, get the good, add it to this good, let's move forward. Mr. Cole, you have been in some sections of the diaspora of late. Is this message going through among members of the Somali community where you were? Do they know that this is an important thing to do? To embrace our roots in medicinal terms? Do they even practice some of these things? Among the Nigerians you've met, you've talked about Nigeria proper, making use of some of these approaches. But among those people, the Ugandans even, overseas, do some of them carry sere in their medicine cabinets? Do some of them have dry mululuza? Do some of them have, what is this, aloe vera?
The chigaji.
Do they have preserved chigaji? Do our Africans, away from where we are they internalizing these things?
Well, I must say that when you look at the Somali community, actually, they very much believe in their traditional medicine.
Okay.
Yes, actually, they believe in their traditional medicine. They also believe in their culture, by the way, their tradition of doing things.
Including getting brides from Somalia.
Yes, yes.
When
yes,
you're in America.
Yes, actually. They believe in doing their things the Somali way. And
Very conservative.
They believe in preserving themselves as a people.
Yes.
So that's why they even when they are outside the continent, you find that they restrict on intermarriages.
Yes.
Because you must be a Somali to marry Somali, because you will understand one another. Now, but back to the issue of the Ugandan community. I think the Ugandan community will very much depend on our friends from West Africa. Because the West Africans, you see, they are enterprising.
Yes.
You will find that most of the African shops, actually 90% of the African shops in Europe and the Western world are owned by the West Africans. And I don't know why Ugandans have really also not ventured so much into that. You find very few Ugandans who are into that. But yes, it's very true that whenever people come back to Africa, they'll go back with either dry mululuza, dry sera, as he says, and so many things that they can, that can help them. You know, one other thing that you also appreciate with the people in the Western world is that even when you go to their hospitals, maybe you go to the hospital, it will take them time to give you medicine, because they believe that the body must fight, must be given a chance to fight for its own. You get? The body must be given opportunity to fight off the diseases or whatever ailment. But when you come to the hospitals here in Africa, even before a prescription is given, you open your mouth. They say, "Soko kwa aspirin." Even don't. So that's why you find that we are having many complications. But actually, in the Western world, you find that even going to a pharmacy, if you don't produce a doctor's report later, they can't sell anything to you. But even you go to any drug shop, somebody sends wetagaye negundi ne panado. You get it? So in other words, business on people's lives, actually, which is not good.
Business orientation.
The business we are trying to play with people's lives. So, and which was also, like he said, in the African tradition, if you said maybe I have a complication, maybe I have this complication, if they give you mululuza, Mululuza, yes, you take Mululuza for that particular complication, but it's also a food supplement.
You can also drink it.
You can also, so it is, they are giving you for one particular issue, but it's also solving other issues. But now this particular Western medicine, it is given for a particular disease. And once you don't have that particular disease, then now you've taken poison into your body. So that is now, I think, the difference. And it's where our really people in the medical world, that they should not look at, they should not extorting money from patients, but they should also look at how best they can help the patients. Still, it goes back to our practitioners in the herbal medicine. You must up your game. Mobilize the young ones. We should decolonize their mind that, look here, not everything African is evil. Not everything that was associated with our ancestors is evil. So by doing that, that is when we shall interest. Because you'll find somebody who has graduated in pharmacy, but he cannot even make any. Actually, I think it is they are qualified in prescribing or giving out giving out drugs that they don't make. So let those people also have perhaps a course unit of how they can make this medicine traditionally from our forests, from our bushes, from the water bodies we have, because also water actually is also medicine.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much. Dr. Musisi,
Yes, please.
do you appreciate the concerns that your detractors have concerning issues around research, issues around bodies of knowledge, issues around efficacy, issues around even side effects, even if you've stated that none exist? Do you understand or do you appreciate their concerns?
Yes, I really do appreciate, because in Uganda we say inyama ntono okayana eri mu nkwawa. So when you ever complain, you can never reach the resolution.
Okay.
And the solution. So research comes from the word search. It is after searching, that's when you research. Okay. You research what you searched. So it is there, but it is not enough.
Okay.
We are very big. The industry is very wide. Actually, it is befalling all the world. But for you, give it little time and little facilitation. It means we are losing something that we have encounter to bring it in its full stateness of being active. For example, when you put in a syllabus, you put a syllabi of herbal medicine in schools. It means now the generation that is coming from P1. For example, in Japan, before you go for any education, you first learn what we call personal discipline and culture. For 3 years. How the PR is, public relations, how to respect elders, how to greet, how to sit, how you have to behave in the society, how to talk before anything in Japan. So when we come back to Uganda, how many research centers are put up? How many syllabi are put in schools? You put Luganda as a syllabus. You put as a syllabus. You put Kiswahili as a syllabus.
Yes.
But you forget herbal medicine. That is basically for health. Really, it is absurd that we are not seeing what we have to see, what we must see as Africans. We are Africans. Even if we do what, we shall remain Africans. And we shall remain Ugandans. And the only gift God has given us are plants. Because every plant is medicine, I repeat it. And I want to enlighten about the side effects of the medicine. Herbal medicine, if it is taken on the dosage, I repeat, it has no side effect. But dosaging can be with side effects. And I think the word side effect comes before dosage or after dosage. Because when they say take 2 tablets times 3, and you take it the way it is prescribed, again it has side effect. Yet you have taken it on the dose. If it is a painkiller, you'll feel the pain relieved, but after some time, the pain will come back. It is not healing, it is pain killing. Am I being
Yes,
gotten
yes, yes,
correct?
yes.
So I want to call upon people, like especially the pharmaceuticals. We are not haters, we are not fighting conventional medicine.
That's important to
We
note.
are not fighting it. But we want our medicine to stop being called alternative
And witchcraft.
and witchcraft. And we need to be given the authorities, like the way you give KCCA to cater for Kampala City, the way you give Ministry of Finance, the Ministry of STI. I think the Ministry of STI should be generally for herbal medicine. For the innovators, one by one, step by step, let's look at the medicine on its state and give the stakeholders independence.
Interesting.
Because if someone invented Sele for wounds, do you know him? We don't know him. Why? The system. Who got to know that bananas is food? who invented that muruluza is for fever?
I don't know.
Do you do get that? Isn't it a good knowledge for us when you don't have money? Actually, it saves even expenses for Africans. You go to the clinic for only malaria, you will spend more than 100,000, and your salary is 150,000. You have rent, you have food, and yet the 100 is taken for malaria, and yet there is nakasero, msuja weraba, there is aloe vera chigaji, there is mululuza that can be prepared for you to prevent mululuza. Because if the immunity of a body is at the maximum, the malaria cannot attack you. So I think Uganda people have to be sensitized, educated, updated for simple issues to prevent expenses. Because you will treat someone when he is home, is dirty, has bushes around the home, the homestead, does not take water. The first thing when you go to the hospital, they put you on the drip, the normal saline. Why? Because the body is losing water. We used to study in P3, lack of proteins the body causes kwashiorkor. So lack of water causes what? Lack of vitamin C causes what? Lack of vitamin D causes what? That is the information that Ugandans have to know to keep themselves healthy and well, instead of visiting every time pharmaceuticals, clinics, pharmacies. So we should prevent that instead of healing. We prevent it. Prevention is better than cure. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Dr. Mayanja was saying something.
Yes, now, okay. To add a few things on my colleague's statements,
Yes.
you find that, okay, there is no way we can say that we can ignore the other side. We need each other, in other words.
True.
Yeah, how? You find that these days, according to the world of today, there is a lot of pollution. And you find that even in the food that we are depending on, the GMFs, genetically modified foods, which are in the groceries everywhere, processed foods, that kind of, you find that they contain a lot of things, like carcinogens for creating cancer. Even in the different things that we feed on, which are being given to us by fellow colleagues, the local people. Because, I would not talk about, because there is some people, maybe they will think I'm decampaigning their businesses, but we've done some research and we found many things which have been involved in different things that we feed on. But that I would like to not go deep into that, because of some people are paying attention to think that maybe I'm attacking their businesses according to what they're doing. But what I can advise the fellow colleagues, rather the public in general, we are experiencing three problems in particular, which are these, as the public. We talk of ignorance, we talk of reluctancy,
Yes.
and we talk of negligence. People don't go for screening. Yet we are in the world of pollution, we are in the world of toxic things like genetically modified foods.
Yes.
You find that when you go for screening, like for example, Uganda Cancer Institute, they were trying to make cards they created, they talked of something. They say that 10 people who go for screening, they find that 5 have cancer. But people are aware about it? They are not. What is leading to that? That is ignorance, reluctance, and negligence. You feel a pain here, you don't know what is, yet the cancer has started. It is in 0 stage, but it will proceed. 0 stage, first stage, second stage, third. By the time you diagnose, like a certain colleague of, I'm sorry to talk about this, is my name man, is my brother. I worked even with him one day, that is Humphrey, the brother to Chameleon. These are people I've been with. He has been in communication. I was with him. I worked with that very person. He died of cancer. But if he had gone for screening, he was going for screening. By the time they tested the cancer, it was already in 4th stage. That is terminal stage. But if he had gone, you feel some kind of small pain, you go for screening. These people, when they go for medical checkup, you find nobody who goes for checkup of cancer. They go for other medical complications. Do I have malaria? Do I have typhoid? How many people do you see going for cancer checkup? So that is the ignorance that we are experiencing, the reluctance and negligence. So you feel any pain, you find anything that you don't understand, first go for screening, meaning that we need each other. How are you going to do the medical checkup when do you know, can you operate these machines?
No.
So meaning that we need the other side. You understand?
Yeah, we do.
So we need to see how we can liaise so that we work together as a team and we move on. That's the main request.
Also coming back to you, but on a slightly different matter.
Yes.
When we see, for example, strike action that happened not very long ago in this country around the healthcare system and now in neighboring Kenya, when you see these situations, what comes to your mind in terms of what could be had we enhanced the African medical approach?
According to me, concerning that point that you are raising, I think if you were to look deep into the point, what is leading all to that is ignorance. I go back to the same point.
Of the practitioners or us?
The practitioners, and we, both parties.
Okay.
Because you find that there is something I'm going to talk about. You find that these people, when they are corrupting people, these Western countries, they don't corrupt these juniors. They deal with the seniors. You understand?
The policymakers and so on.
Yes, they deal with the seniors. Then these seniors will influence these juniors because you cannot refuse what your senior is talking about. You understand?
Yes.
So you find that they corrupt these people. They do funny things, but all that is due to ignorance. If we were depending on our own medicine without depending on their medicine, I don't think all those things we will be experiencing such kind of nonsense.
Okay. So you're saying that these dynamics are not just local; they have interested actors beyond our borders.
Exactly, it's beyond our borders.
Who want the financing so we can buy more of their medicine.
They have their hidden agenda.
And more of their machines and so on.
Yes.
The question also comes to you, Dr. Musisi.
Yes, please.
When you look at the concerns of medical practitioners, the pharmacists and so on and so forth, who say, look, the funding that we are getting is inadequate. We don't have the medicines we require, we don't have the machines, we don't have the manpower, political will, the policies are not what they should be, and therefore we'll take our trade and withhold it. Some people will say, well, since you withheld your services, so many women have died in childbirth and so many babies have gone down because no one has taken them as prematures for further management and so on. What comes to your mind when it comes to what could be had we been more attentive to the African approach to medical care?
Yes, thank you very much. The African traditional medicine approach is the best, even for the whites or the Western. Because that's where...
But these people are saying, look, we don't have the machines we require. Wouldn't you need machines?
Yes, that is a strategy, that is the low bed that I said earlier, that if the government harbors, because there are things that an individual, an organization cannot do. It is in a different capacity, the capacity of the nation. So most of us who were born before 1990s were not born in hospitals. Others were born in banana plantations, in the bush, on the way. But who did the process?
TBS.
The Murelwas, yes. So if that one was possible, and we are the most strongest people in the generation, we are very strong. This generation, people are very weak, who are born in hospitals.
Okay.
It means that if that system was there, why don't we keep it and to say same, we strengthen
Enhance.
it as people, we enhance it so that the generation that is coming finds a strong foundation. One reason, if you forget where you come from or your home, it means ojja kufuuka musenze. You get?
Yes.
You will become a refugee.
A Red Indian.
Exactly. So we should make our home comfortable for us, self-contained. And the most important issue is health.
Yes.
When you lose health, you lose life. So you will not suffer from cancer when you behave African. You will not suffer from AIDS when you behave African. How does an African man behave in a society? In the 80 years. How do we behave? How are we supposed to behave in our communities? We are Africans. We have to believe that and know ourselves that we are Africans. And Africa is our land. The moment we think we want to behave Western culture, our characters, we put it the other side, we leave our African character, it means we are going astray. An African man eats food, a heavy food, and you want to eat snacks. I want my hot dog, I want chips. An African man has to eat food to be strong.
But chips are food.
Physically. I'm telling you, even in the reason why now the most selling product is manpower, everyone is advertising, I have manpower medicine, because the way we eat. You cannot eat chips as a man and you act strongly in
bed.
In bed. You can't. Because gavamukulia, energy is coming from food. What you eat is what your energy shows. You're physically strong, it means what you eat is also strong, the basement.
The content inside.
Exactly. So when you want to tell me that you have to behave like a white who is ever in snow, the weather is different, the land is different, the food is different, let's behave like Africans. We have to eat African, we have to behave African and use our African medicine. It's so pity to say that our African fellows are the ones fighting herbal medicine. How do you fight yourself? Even if you fight herbal medicine, your child will find it. Your grandchild will find it because it is part of you. If eucalyptus is a herbal medicine for cough, for years and years you don't know who invented it, you don't know how it came to be known, and you will leave it there. So let's gather the information, keep the research, keep the legacy, and we behave African. The government facilitates us, supports us. Herbal medicine is the way to go, financially, economically, politically. You like it or not? You saw it in COVID. You eat more neems, michungwa, mujaja, kakomera. Why didn't they say you eat a lot of metro and paracetamol?
Interesting. But I think when you said, I think that one of the more interesting aspects of the African traditional approach was the holistic nature. There was nothing in African traditional society that was isolated in execution. In other words, the way you ate was also related to what you planted, was also related to, I'll give you an example. There is a place I'll not name for political reasons, where some of the government officials have castigated that very area for being irresponsible in terms of what they are farming. In other words, you farm something with all your strength that you don't eat. Then you commit that land to that crop fully and completely. You leave no food, no area for the food that you eat. And then, because the money is given to you outright, at the end of a month or two, you are as broke as they come. And this is an agricultural area. So most of the people are reliant on agriculture. We're talking about African traditional society has had no place for such practices, where you commit all of your land to something you don't eat. Then you have to go to the market to buy all of what you eat. And you no longer have the money to buy any of it. That is why people are poor in many cases. So we're saying African traditional medicine had the approach that says many of these things are not just food. They can be eaten and you can drink them. So it attended to many aspects of day-to-day living, holistic in short. But we're coming to a Western value system where everything is very isolated in nature. He talked about when you have a drug, it is strictly for that one. It will not help the eyes. This one is strictly for the joints. This one will not help the nose. It is strictly for the hair. So what we are saying is this way of doing things needs to return to our day-to-day business. But even as we draw to the close of this program, African traditional medicine is one of many things that are challenging African society today. I'd like us to consider, and I'm coming to you, Mr. Cole. Do you see an answer in the intervening years, say a generation from now? Do you see that there will be a difference concerning where we are today, what is being set in place? Do you foresee a good and meaningful turnaround?
Well, I can say there is hope because ideally circumstances will always force people. Yes, whether we don't tell people, but circumstances will. For example, we used to think that steaming is old-fashioned way of treatment, but COVID pushed us when everybody was running to look for those leaves to steam themselves. So circumstances always do that. The other thing, as my parting shot on this, is that the African way of treatment actually involved our lifestyle. That people used to work far from where they would stay, so that you'd walk, and therefore the body, you're exercising. Now, you see, we have this thing of gyms. This is the Western world, because during winter you can't walk. So you have to look for a gym. Now, this is something we're imposing on ourselves and we call it modernity. No, people should walk. I also think this also goes back to people who really make our roads. Because now people, even when they are making roads, they don't leave space for people, for cyclists. And the president has always said this: people should be given a chance to cycle. You find a man of 90 years in the village, strong and is cycling, he's carrying his, but you find somebody who's ever in cars in AC at 60, the person is cabbage. He's totally good. Yet somebody of 90 years who is cycling is very, very strong and is going about their own business. So we should actually not despise cycling. We shouldn't look at it as something for the disadvantaged. Even we call upon the Ministry of Works that when you're making the roads, at least put some side for the cyclists. Like in the Western world, they do that. At least there must be a lane, a place where cyclists, those who are going to cycle, will pass, so that we can we can avoid unnecessary accidents like what happened at Nkumba. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Musisi.
Yes, please.
Even as we draw to the close of the program, I'd like you to tell us what gives you most hope when it comes to the resurgence of goodwill toward African medicine. What gives you most hope?
Yes, what gives me hope is the process that we have passed through. Me, I was born in herbal medicine. My mom is a herbal practitioner. My uncles, my Sengas are all practicing. Why? It is a family business of research. So Nakotha Uganda has been in existence since 1988. And I was born in 1988. So it was invented with my birth. It is now in existence for almost 33, 34 years.
Yes.
In the beginning, people were not aware and were so harsh to herbal medicine. Olimulogo was the word. They believed so much in the Western medicine. But right now, we have shifted from giving medicine from the paper, newspapers, we wrap and we give. That stage we have dropped it. We have gone off the stage of putting herbal medicine into Renzori bottles, the empty ones. That stage is also off. We have gone off the stage of people pleading for people, please come, I can heal you. Now people can find the herbal medicine. They come and look for the herbal medicine. People have now learned that herbal medicine is better, though it is still on a lower percentage.
Yes.
Now the government is starting to recognize the value. Because when we tabled the bill of traditional medicine and complementary act 2019, it was far back in the years of 90, but it was later sat on in the recent years, and it is now an act. It is off the bill to an act. It is left only to be mandated or gazetted. So if the president allows that for herbal medicine, it means the hope is too much. Now Covidex, during the COVID-19, it was immediately, it was an emergency to approve it to be used by the public, by the directive of the president. It means now we are recognized. We are off. The 33 years are not dead. They have worked. We have a legacy. I remember our late Dr. Karim Musasizi. Actually, he was the one in this program last year, but now he's late. But he left behind the legacy.
Wow.
May God forgive him where he went wrong, but he has done something for this nation. The late Dr. Abdul Karim Musasizi.
Wow.
May his soul rest in peace. I cannot fail to remember his work and his job.
He did a lot.
He did a lot for this nation. So I'll conclude saying that we are seeing where we are going. We have put in place everything. The coming generation, the people who are listening and seeing this program, please opt for herbal medicine for African